Hi, it's G from Native Speakers Academy. Let me tell you what's annoying. Annoying is when there's a car bouncing down the road and you don't know if the headlights are dipped or on full beam. All you know is they just keep flashing at you because of the bouncing motion of the car. Yes, I'm going to drive as slow as possible down the main road today. In my car that I obviously got in a Christmas cracker. Gram. There's an interesting word. No, seriously. There's gram. A weight of something, a measure of something. Yet also infused as a language word. Grammar. Infused with the concept of magic. Sneezing it. As in pentagram. So today's word is program. There are obvious programs that exist. Radio program, TV program, computer program. I'll tell you what, it's weird, this temperature again. A few days ago it was -5 at this time in the morning. Some people said -7. And now it's +13. +13. The temperature did the same thing last year. I remember in the space of 4 or 5 days it changed 25 degrees, which is incredible. So it's 13 degrees now. At this point, at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's 13 degrees today. And 3 or 4 days ago, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. It was between -5 and -7. That's a difference of 20 degrees. 20 degrees. What is that? 20 degrees. What does that mean, that at any point in time in 3 or 4 days the temperature could just drop 20 degrees? Should I prepare my sun hat? Well, this is ridiculous. I don't have a sun hat. Got a baseball cap somewhere. This is insane, actually. It's more than ridiculous. The temperature should not be varying by 20 degrees in 3 or 4 days. Not regularly, at least. No wonder I was sweating last night. But that's another matter. So, what were we? Programs. Radio program, TV program, computer program. Program as in guide, your theater program. And that's what programs do. They guide us, they move us, they shift us, they nudge us, they edge us onward, forward. And who could argue that society doesn't need a little bit of edging? Who could argue that a lot of society doesn't need some basic rules, manners, principles, things to drive us forward. Things like the end, or principles that brought us the things like the end of slavery and the beginning of schools. At least the principles of schools. I know, maybe you know as well that the first schools were all military schools, if you exclude the religious contexts, and the esoteric schools, of course, and the Athenian schools, with their trivium and quadrivium principles. But most of the first schools for the general public were military academies, where the ruling class decided that all of the male children had to by force attend schools. The trouble was that they actually learned a lot of useful skills doing this, and a variety of skills as well. I'm not sure they maintained their moral standing, but definitely the achievement of excellence was a high-valued principle. Anyway, programs, there's always people standing in the middle of nowhere in this country. There's always people walking somewhere, usually where there's no roads, just walking. Middle of nowhere, there will be people walking. And I don't mean like hiking through the nature, countryside, the forest or whatever. I mean, it's just trudging. The slow, depressed, desolate stamp of heavy feet. Now, where are you going? I went to bed late, got up late, so I could drive faster to get to my office on time. But it's okay because I've got my own parking space. So one of my students figured out that it's actually cheaper not to buy parking tickets. Can you believe that? He actually figured out the percentage possibility of him getting caught and his ability to negotiate down the fines means that it's actually cheaper not to buy tickets for parking in the town. It's one of those borders of madness and genius, I suppose. Still, you have to expect the unexpected from time to time. If you expect the unexpected, then it's not really unexpected, is it? Anyway, there are times from time to time when you have to call the police, and they have to come and remove that clamp from the wheel, which he says is frustrating because the police are usually drunk when they turn up, or at least one of them. Yay to our national police force, some of whom do their service with great honour, and others are as useful as used tissues. You know, 5% of all crime is actually This is recorded crime. 5%. This is an official statistic from this country. 5% of all recorded crime is done by the police. And that's just the ones they can catch. You don't catch the good criminals, you don't catch the bad ones. Good criminals are not in prison. It's always the ones who have not paid off the right people or stood on the wrong toes or something like that. It's also extremely light this morning. Not only is it extremely warm, it's extremely light for this time of morning. It's like waking up and it's a different time of year. God knows what the plants and the animals and the trees must feel. One of my students, one of my students claims to be able to communicate with plants and trees. I mean, plants and trees are living beings, obviously, they're alive. And scientific studies show that they experience some kind of chemical, emotional reality. Like when you cut them, they release the same chemicals that human beings release when they scream or have fear or pain. Can you really talk with them? Can they really talk to you? There's a thought. Maybe somebody should study that. The language of nature. It's true that when people say talking to plants often improves the quality of the plant. Interesting. I wonder if they get depressed. That would be lack of water. Programs, anyway. Just as a general rule, don't stick any plants next to Wi-Fi routers. They die for some reason. Don't stick a Wi-Fi router next to your bed, or your brain will turn into scrambled eggs. I'm not joking. Electrical interference in our environment. Programs tuning society. You can't argue that some areas of society require tuning. And as much as I hate modern urbanization, studies do show that societies congregated in larger towns and cities tend to have higher intellects. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting how much, I've talked about this before, how much of reality is in opposition to what we know or think we know already. But then this is an example of the programming. The weight of knowledge, both real and unreal, that is given to us to carry through life. The weight of responsibility, of understanding, and then of having to communicate our understandings. The importance of which cannot be underestimated. Now, we all run on programs. And when we know that, we should be able to program ourselves. Think of your mind as a computer now. The computer is an attempt to reconstruct certain aspects of the logical mind. So it's not a bad place to start if you want to think about your mind like a computer. Think about the way things are organized on a computer. That's not a bad way to organize your own practical, logical thoughts in your mind. I'm not saying you can organize the chaos and the creativity and the spirituality and the beyond standard spectrum consciousness, but think about it like that, and then you understand that you can add programs in to get yourself to do things. You can erase old programs and update your life with new versions. There's no reason why anybody would not want at various points in their life to step up to the next level, to challenge themselves. And the program method is one way of understanding how we can help ourselves. That everything we are given, every construct and construction in life, get out of the middle of the road, spastic. Every construct, there we go. Con is an interesting prefix. The false nature of things. Con man, the man who tells lies. Con often represents false. Consciousness. Construct. And false in this context doesn't always mean not real. It just means not part of the natural universe. So when you take elements of the universe and you mold them and change them and build with them, it's a construct. It's building something which the universe itself would not build. Interesting. Theoretically, it shouldn't be practical, but it is quite practical. Obviously, we build houses, cars, ships, planes, all sorts of things. So, to make the program work, I suggest what you need is a little bit of time to yourself every day where you can escape the programs of the world around about about us. We all conformation. We all conform to the world that is around about us. Each person in different ways. On different levels. There's even the bias. One day we'll get around to doing the second part of the bias presentation. Oh no, we've done 2 parts. There should be 4 parts. Anyway, there's the conformation bias, where our past affects our present ability to understand our own reality. Some of these truths are quite brutal, really. So if you take a little bit of time each day to program yourself, construct your own program, run your own program, then you have an opportunity to head in the direction that perhaps you'd like to head in for yourself. You don't have to be running other people's programs constantly all the time. You need to work on your own. Do your own thing. Does that make sense? Makes sense to me. Take a little bit of time each day. Try to erase the things you don't need and employ your own brain to power itself with your own programs. Pro.